America, to the outside world, is the land of dreams, the place where skyscrapers kiss the clouds, where luxury brands thrive, where technology advances at light speed, and where freedom is printed like a national logo. People from around the world grow up believing in the American dream. The idea that if you work hard, follow the rules, and keep your head down, success will find you. But that dream has a cruel underside. It has cracks, deep and widening. And if you happen to fall into one of those cracks, the dream turns into a nightmare you can't wake up from. Across cities and suburbs, in alleyways, beneath bridges, in cold tents lining sidewalks, in cars parked outside Walmarts, millions of people are living through a silent crisis. These are America's poor, the homeless, the abandoned, the people left behind by a system that's become too big, too cold, and too indifferent to notice them slipping further and further into despair. And it's not just a few, it's millions, and growing. Every year, more Americans lose their homes, their stability, their place in society. And once you're out there, on the street, it's like you vanish from the national conscience. What's most heartbreaking is that no one thinks it will happen to them. You grow up believing that you'll be fine if you do the right things. Go to school, get a job, work hard, be responsible. But that illusion shatters quickly. One medical emergency can drain your savings, one job loss, and you're behind on rent. One landlord raising the price, and suddenly you're faced with an impossible choice. Pay rent or buy groceries. For so many, there is no safety net, no parents to call, no money to borrow, no community ready to catch them. The reality is, most people living on the street were once working. Many still are. But they simply don't make enough to live. Wages haven't kept up with inflation. Rent prices have exploded. Affordable housing is a myth for millions. The average person is one paycheck away from disaster, and once that fall happens, it's nearly impossible to climb back up. Not because they don't want to, but because the system is designed to keep them down. Imagine losing your apartment and having to sleep in your car. Then your car gets towed because you couldn't afford to renew the registration. Now you're on the street with nothing. No ID, no phone, no place to shower, no way to apply for jobs. Every step forward becomes a battle. Every little thing that most people take for granted, like brushing your teeth, finding a bathroom, charging your phone, becomes a daily mission. And the worst part? Nobody sees you anymore. It's like you become invisible. People cross the street to avoid you. They roll up their windows when you ask for help. They pretend they don't hear you. They look away. You become a ghost in the middle of a crowd. And then comes the desperation. You do things you never thought you'd do, things you might have judged other people for. Some turn to panhandling. Some try to collect cans or scrap metal to earn a few dollars. Others dig through trash cans behind restaurants, not because they're criminals, but because they're starving. Hunger changes you. It wears you down. It makes you look for shortcuts, for any kind of relief. This is where the streets offer their darkest temptations. One of the most tragic realities is the connection between homelessness and prostitution. People, mostly women but not only women, are forced to trade their bodies just to survive. It's not about addiction or choice, it's about survival. If someone offers you money for a motel room, food, or even something as simple as a pair of shoes, and the price is your body, what would you do when you have nothing left? These are not criminals. These are people doing what they feel they must do to stay alive. The streets don't offer dignity. They take it away. Slowly, cruelly, and without mercy. And then there are the drugs. People always ask, why do so many homeless people use drugs? But they ask it from a place of ignorance. When you're living in filth, when you haven't slept in days, when you're hungry, cold, and no one cares if you live or die, getting high doesn't feel like a vice. It feels like the only escape. Drugs like fentanyl, meth, heroin, and crack are everywhere on the streets. Dealers prey on people's misery, and the high becomes a temporary freedom. It's the only thing that quiets the thoughts, numbs the pain, and makes a few hours bearable. And once you're hooked, it becomes even harder to function. People start to spiral. They lose touch with reality. They lose their health, their teeth, their ability to think clearly. And society looks at them with disgust, never stopping to ask how they got there. Mental illness is another deep part of this crisis. So many of the homeless are dealing with trauma, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, PTSD, or severe depression. Some ended up on the street because of their mental illness. Others developed it after months or years of homelessness. It's not hard to understand why. The stress, the violence, the isolation, it breaks your mind. You begin to hear things, you begin to talk to yourself, you lose your grip on what's real and what's imagined. And instead of getting help, you're pushed further out. Hospitals won't admit you unless you're a danger. Shelters won't take you if you're unstable. Police just arrest you if you're causing a scene. There is no treatment. There is only survival. And for those with mental illness, that survival is even more brutal. The homeless community is not safe. It is not some peaceful gathering of unfortunate people. It is a place of desperation, of fear, of violence. People steal from each other. Women are raped in their tents. Fights break out over the smallest things. When you live outside the law, outside the system, there are no rules, only instincts. And those instincts are shaped by fear. You sleep with a knife under your pillow. You watch your back constantly. You sleep in shifts, if at all. There is no rest. There is no peace. Some end up committing crimes, not because they're evil, but because they're hungry or sick or cold. They steal food. They break into abandoned buildings. They sell drugs to buy shoes. And then they get arrested. They go to jail. They get released with nothing, and the cycle starts again. A criminal record makes it harder to find a job or housing, and so the spiral continues. Society punishes them again and again for being poor, and even when help exists, it's often out of reach. Shelters are overcrowded, unsafe, or full of strict rules. Some don't allow couples. Some won't let you in if you have a pet or if you've been drinking. Others are just too far to walk. Affordable housing has waiting lists that stretch for years. Rehab centers are expensive and scarce. Mental health services are buried under red tape. And public assistance? The paperwork alone is enough to make people give up. We say we care. We say we want to fix the problem. But what have we done? We've banned people from sleeping in parks. We've made it illegal to panhandle. We've added spikes to benches. We've hired more police instead of more counselors. We've spent more on jails than we have on housing. We haven't helped. We've criminalized poverty. And still, the country spends billions on war, on oil, on luxury developments, on space tourism. We build condos that no one can afford while thousands sleep on sidewalks just outside. We live in a nation with more empty houses than homeless people. The money exists. The resources exist. What's missing is the will, the empathy, the understanding that no one chooses this life, that homelessness isn't a reflection of failure, but of abandonment. People don't need lectures. They need homes. They don't need judgment. They need help. They need someone to care. Because poverty isn't just about money. It's about isolation. It's about being unseen. It's about living in a society that values profit over people and acts like some lives matter less than others. If you're watching this, don't look away. Don't change the topic. This is happening in your city, your neighborhood, on your street. It's happening while you drive past someone with a cardboard sign. It's happening behind supermarkets, in subway stations, in tents by the river. And if we continue to ignore it, we're part of the problem. The poor aren't just struggling, they're fighting to survive in a country that has forgotten them. But they are not invisible. Not here. Not to you. Not anymore.